Whatever their fear was at the time. But no, I didn't go nowhere. My mom. My dad never really had anything that you could call religion. You know, Johnny Depp showed up to a Hollywood event last week, and nobody recognized him. The man who played Jack Sparrow for 20 years looked completely different. From 230 pounds to 130, he'd almost lost half his body weight. And it is not because of a good diet or exercise. Hollywood insiders are whispering about what really happened during those missing months. Some say it saved his life. Others worry it's destroying him. The truth about his transformation is more extreme than the rumors. Johnny Depp was born on June 9, 1963 in Owensboro, Kentucky. He was the youngest of 4 children. His father, John Christopher Depp, was a civil engineer. His mother, Betty Sue Palmer, was a waitress who later became a homemaker. The family never stayed in one place for long. They moved from house to house all the time, and Johnny hardly ever felt settled. Growing up was hard for Johnny. His mother had a terrible temper. She would throw things at him and his siblings without warning. Johnny learned to hide and brace himself whenever she walked into a room. Even though she was sometimes kind, most days were tense. Johnny's father was gentle and shy, but he couldn't protect his children from Betty Sue's anger. The constant moving only added to the stress. Johnny later said they moved maybe 40 times before he was 15. When he was 7, they moved to Miramar, Florida. The family stayed in a motel for nearly a year, and Johnny felt more alone than ever. Music became his safe place. At 12, his mom gave him a guitar, and Johnny spent hours playing it, using music to escape his troubles. By 12, Johnny was already smoking, drinking, and using drugs. Life at school was miserable too. Other kids bullied him for being strange and different. At home, the tension never let up. Johnny began hurting himself and turning to his mother's nerve pills just to feel calm. Over time, his drug use increased. It was his way of numbing the pain and the loneliness that followed him everywhere. When Johnny was 15, his parents finally divorced. The split shattered him. His mother fell into a deep depression, and he had to go to his father's office each week to pick up child support checks. It felt humiliating. He was also left to take care of his mom and siblings. Even school couldn't help him anymore. By 16, he decided to leave Miramar High School and chase his dream of being a musician. When he tried to come back after 2 weeks, the principal told him to go follow his dream instead. That was all Johnny needed to hear. He started playing in a band called The Kids. They had almost no money and would often sleep in a friend's 1967 Chevy Impala. They played every gig they could get and even opened for big names like Talking Heads, the B-52s, and Iggy Pop. Despite the exciting shows, they were always broke. Johnny and the band did what they could to keep going, even modeling for local papers to make extra cash. In December 1983, Johnny and the band left Florida for Los Angeles. They renamed themselves Six Gun Method and hoped for a record deal. Life was even harder there. The band shared tiny apartments, slept on floors, and Johnny took a job selling ballpoint pens just to pay the bills. The music scene was tough, and they never did get a record contract. That same year, Johnny married Lori and Allison, a makeup artist who was also the sister of the band's bassist. Lori supported him through all the struggle. They had little money, but she had connections that would change his life forever. Through Lori, Depp met Nicolas Cage, who was already making a name for himself with films like Valley Girl and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Cage and Depp quickly became friends. They would hang out in Cage's apartment, playing Monopoly and talking about movies. One day, Cage looked at Depp and asked, "Why don't you try acting?" Depp laughed it off. "I can't act," he said. But Cage kept pushing him. "Maybe you are one and don't know it," Cage replied. That simple suggestion was the spark that changed everything. Cage introduced Depp to his agent, Eileen Feldman, who sent him on his first audition. Depp never thought of acting as a career. Later, During a trial decades later, Depp said, "I didn't have any desire to be an actor. I was a musician, but they were going to pay me $1,284 a week. I'd never seen that kind of money." And so, because of Laurie's connection to Cage and Cage's belief in him, Depp found himself sitting in front of Wes Craven to read for a part. That part was Glenn Lance in A Nightmare on Elm Street. Depp only went to the audition to support a friend who wanted the role. Depp had never acted before. Craven wasn't interested at first. He thought Depp didn't look like an actor. But when Craven's teenage daughter saw Depp's headshot, she told her dad he was dreamy, exactly what they needed for Glenn. Craven took a chance and gave Depp the part. The role paid $1,284 a week, more than Depp had ever earned. It was his first film. It had a tiny budget of $1.8 million, but it ended up making over $57 million worldwide and becoming a horror classic. Depp's death, seen as Glenn being sucked into his bed and then exploding into a geyser of blood, became legendary. It was one of the most shocking deaths in horror history and one of the most difficult scenes to film. To shoot it, the crew built a rotating set that created the illusion of blood spraying up to the ceiling. 500 gallons of fake blood was dumped into the set. When it hit the lights, sparks flew. The room spun out of control. It was dangerous, messy, and unforgettable. That single scene changed Depp's career forever. Audiences loved it, and suddenly, Hollywood was paying attention. In his personal life, things were more complicated. Depp and Laurie and Allison had married in December 1983, but by 1985 they were already divorced. Even though they split after only 2 years, Laurie never stopped supporting him. She had introduced him to Nicolas Cage and set up his first audition. Depp always acknowledged that his career began because of her. Even after Elm Street, Depp wasn't sure acting was for him. He kept playing guitar and hoped to make it in music. He took small roles just to pay rent, appearing in Private Resort and as a minor character in Platoon. But in 1987, he was cast as Tom Hansen on 21.